An eccentric billionaire and owner of top tech company Alpha, Miles Braun, invites his best friends over to his private island, Glass Onion, for a weekend getaway, where they'll all have fun and play a murder mystery game. The entourage of friends include head scientist of Miles' tech company, Lionel, Connecticut Governor Claire, top fashion model Birdie, a social media star Duke, and lastly, Miles' former business partner, Andy, who's not on great terms with the entire group ever since Miles kicked her out of the company. Moving on, the add-ons to the weekend getaway include Birdie's assistant Peg and Duke's girlfriend Whiskey. And then there's top detective Benoit Blanc. Detective Blanc received an invitation just like everyone else, but Miles recalls to have never sent him an invitation. Anyway, Miles believes his friends must be pranking him by inviting a real detective to his murder mystery game, but Detective Blanc believes otherwise as he observes Miles' friends and finds each to have a motive to get Miles murdered. For instance, Birdie might want to get Miles killed because he has asked her to take the blame for their company's exploitation of cheap labor in Bangladesh, which would ruin her reputation and career. Next, Duke witnesses his girlfriend getting a little frisky with Miles. And not to mention, Andy is still upset that he was kicked out of the company. And it looks like she hasn't gotten over it as she blames each of her friends for not supporting her, and goes further by accusing them of sticking by Miles only because he's rich and influential. All the drama aside, Miles presents them the real Mona Lisa painting, which he reveals is going to help him achieve immortality in a non-literal sense, just as the painting by Da Vinci. Miles shows them Clear, a solid hydrogen fuel and his company's latest invention, which will be the ultimate answer to global climate concerns. Lionel and Claire raise concerns about the potential destruction Clear could cause, but Miles just brushes it off and says the whole island runs on it. He's even invited top world leaders to showcase Clear and make his name synonymous with the game-changing invention. Moving on, the murder mystery game starts, but it ends in a flash as Detective Blanc puts his years of expertise to use and solves Miles' murder mystery game by pointing out the supposed killer, and even the way that Miles was supposed to be killed. With the main attraction of the weekend already gone, Miles is a little frustrated, but Detective Blanc advises him to be careful as everyone on the island has a motive to kill him. Meanwhile, the group have a serious argument where Duke blames Andy for not letting go of her ego and making use of Miles' money and power, just like they did. This culminates in Andy leaving the party. Moments later, Duke mysteriously dies, and after further inspection, Miles realizes that Duke had mistakenly drunk from his glass, and moreover, his phone and gun are both missing. Now they have a real murder mystery at hand. Miles finally sees the threat that he has in front of him and starts to suspect his friends of wanting to kill him. Between all this, they realize that Andy is missing, which puts her as a serious suspect. But not for long, as she gets shot by a mystery man. After witnessing 2 murders, Detective Benoit Blanc thinks it's gone too far and has figured out the killer. Before the killer is identified, Detective Blanc makes a major revelation that the Andy who got shot earlier is not actually Andy, but her twin sister, Helen. Flashback scenes reveal that Andy died of apparent suicide, after which Helen saw the invitation to Miles' private island. Helen suspects her sister didn't commit suicide but was in fact murdered. A further flashback scene reveals the idea of starting Alpha was Andy's, and Miles later joined in after seeing how great Andy's idea was. But soon after the company did extremely well, Miles proposed that they start producing and distributing Clear. Andy obviously saw the possible dangers behind Clear and said she won't let Miles do as he pleases. So Miles kicked her out of her own company. Since Andy had lost the napkin on which she outlined the original blueprint for that company, Miles made a fake one and made all of his friends lie on oath that the idea to start Alpha was Miles's and not Andy's. After getting betrayed by her own friends, Andy was devastated. But then one day she found the original napkin. She immediately clicked a photo and sent it over to her friends and Miles, giving them the final chance to do what's right. And just days after that, Andy was dead. Given how each of her friends lied and were planning to make use of Miles' power and money for their own career, Helen suspects any one of them could have killed Andy. Realizing how Andy's death wasn't out in the news for everyone to know, Detective Blanc suggested Helen to pose as Andy and go to Miles' island to later catch the killer off guard. Fast forward to the time on the island, Helen was just trying to help Detective Blanc in finding out who the killer was, but then she was shot to death. Now back to who actually killed Duke. Detective Blanc points at Miles for deliberately handing his drink to Duke, which was already spiked with some pineapple juice. Duke was allergic to pineapple and so he died a tragic death. As for the reason why he killed Duke, it's revealed that during the cocktail party, Duke had seen the news of Andy's death, and then he had also seen Miles drive away from Andy's house a few days ago, after which Andy was nowhere to be found. Duke put 2 plus 2 together and, afraid that he'd get blackmailed, Miles killed him. Later on, Miles stole Duke's Blunk's gun and then proceeded to kill Helen. Or so he thought. Turns out Helen's detective notepad saved her life. And realizing how Miles must be thinking that Helen's dead, Detective Blunk suggests that she act dead and then heads over to Miles' office to look for the evidence while he keeps everyone busy. And just when Detective Blunk is done explaining the mystery, Helen shows up with the original napkin, which would prove that the company was Andy's idea. But that was a stupid move as Miles just burns the napkin. Miles then taunts Helen by saying that there's no evidence to prove him guilty. More so, the spineless friends group will also not speak of Miles killing Duke and burning the napkin, as they all have something to benefit from their rich billionaire friend. Helen looks at Detective Blunk for help, but he replies that all he can do is solve the mystery, which he did. To send Miles to jail, they need evidence, which they don't have, so there's not much they can do. However, before heading out, Detective Blunk hands Helen Clear and suggests she take more of an unorthodox approach. Getting the idea, Helen starts breaking the valuable art pieces of Miles. After breaking everything she could get her hands on, Helen sets everything on fire by throwing the piece of Clear onto the broken pieces. Soon the entire house, which was fueled by Clear, gets destroyed, and then as a final coup de grace, she burns the Mona Lisa painting. Then Helen reminds Miles of how she destroyed him. Now that his idea of using hydrogen fuel has proven to be an utter failure, he has nothing to demonstrate, and thus he will never be able to achieve his ultimate goal. Inspired by Helen's act of courage, the rest of the friends also decide to testify against Miles and get him thrown to jail, even if that means they'll hurt their careers. The movie ends with Helen and Detective Blunk sitting on the beach as they watch the incoming police force. And that's the end of the movie. If you like this short recap, then please give us a like and comment down your thoughts on the movie. I'll be uploading more minute recaps in the future, so stay tuned and subscribe to the channel to never miss out on more future videos.